Welcome to 10-Minute Zuimonki. Dōgen said, "From what I have heard, when Seppo founded his monastery, conditions were so poor that the kitchen fire sometimes went out for lack of fuel, and the monks sustained themselves on little more than rice and green beans. Even so, the community never numbered fewer than 1,500 monks. That is how people practiced in former times. We should take them as our example today. In many cases, prosperity is what corrupts monks. During the time of the Tathagata, Devadatta became jealous because the Buddha received each day a great offering from King Ajatashatru, 500 cartloads of provisions. Wealth not only harms ourselves, it can also lead others into wrongdoing. Why should one who sincerely practiced the way concern himself with abundance? And when offerings given in pure faith come your way, once they begin to accumulate, regard them as a debt that must be repaid. The people of this country make offerings hoping to gain merit and benefit for themselves. We are naturally inclined to favor those who greet us warmly and treat us kindly, yet seeking the approval of others becomes an obstacle to practicing the way. Persevere through both hunger and cold, and devote yourself wholeheartedly to the practice of the way." Today we come to a passage in which Dōgen speaks about poverty, wealth, and the dangers that come with success. The passage begins with a story about the great Chinese Zen master Seppo. Dōgen tells us that when Seppo founded his monastery, conditions were extremely poor. Sometimes there was not even enough fuel to keep the kitchen fire burning. The monks lived on little more than rice and beans. And yet, despite these hardships, more than 1,500 monks gathered there to practice. Why does Dōgen tell us this story? Because he wants to challenge a very common assumption. Most of us believe that better conditions lead to better practice. We think that even if only we had more money, more comfort, more security, more free time, then our practice would naturally flourish. But history often shows the opposite. When people are deeply inspired by the way, they are willing to endure hardship. And when they become comfortable, they often lose their sense of urgency. Dōgen is not praising poverty for its own sake. He is not saying that suffering is holy. What he admires is commitment. Those monks gathered around Seppo because they valued the Dharma more than comfort. They came because they wanted awakening. The simple food and difficult conditions were secondary. Then Dōgen makes a surprising statement. He says that in many cases, prosperity is what corrupts monks. This is not only true of monks. It is true of human beings in general. When life becomes comfortable, we often begin to take things for granted. We become attached to what we have. We begin protecting our comfort rather than seeking the truth. Instead of asking, how can I deepen my practice, we start asking, how can I avoid inconvenience? The center of our life quietly shifts. Practice becomes something we fit around our preferences. And little by little, our preferences become more important than practice. To illustrate this danger, Dōgen mentions Devadatta. According to Buddhist tradition, Devadatta became jealous of the Buddha and sought to undermine him. Dōgen points to the fact that Devadatta envied the offerings made to the Buddha. Jealousy arose because of wealth and status. This is an important reminder. Material things are not dangerous in themselves. The danger lies in what happens in the human mind. The moment comparison begins, suffering begins. The moment we start measuring ourselves against others, dissatisfaction appears. Someone else receives more recognition. Someone else receives more support. Someone else appears more successful. And suddenly the mind that was practicing the way is practicing envy instead. Dōgen warns us that wealth can harm not only ourselves but also others. When people become attached to gain, competition and resentment often follow. Then Dōgen offers another piece of advice. He says that when offerings are given in pure faith, we should regard them as a debt. Ordinarily, when we receive something, we think of it as ours. But Dōgen suggests a different attitude. When someone supports our practice, we incur a responsibility. Their gift is not a reward. It is not a sign of our importance. It is a trust. The proper response is gratitude. And gratitude naturally expresses itself through sincere practice. In traditional Buddhism, monks often reflected, I am receiving food, clothing, and shelter from others. Am I living in a way that justifies this support? This reflection prevents complacency. It transforms receiving into a form of responsibility. Toward the end of the passage, Dōgen points out another subtle danger. People often make offerings hoping to gain benefits for themselves. And naturally, we feel drawn toward those who are generous to us. We enjoy being appreciated. We enjoy being supported. We enjoy being praised. But Dōgen warns that seeking the favor of others can become an obstacle to the way. Why? Because the moment we start practicing in order to be liked, we are no longer practicing freely. The moment we shaped our actions around approval, we lose our independence. Instead of following the Dharma, we begin following public opinion. Instead of asking what is true, we ask what will make people happy. Dōgen wants practitioners to be grateful for support but not dependent upon it. Appreciative but not attached. Supported but not controlled. Finally, Dōgen concludes with a simple instruction. Persevere through hunger and cold. Devote yourself wholeheartedly to the practice of the way. The deeper message is not really about hunger or cold. It is about not allowing circumstances to determine our commitment. Whether conditions are favorable or unfavorable, whether we have much or little, whether we receive praise or criticism, the essential question remains the same. What is most important in our life? For Seppo's monks, the answer was clear. For Dōgen, the answer was clear. The way came first. Everything else came second. And perhaps this passage invites us to ask ourselves the same question. If comfort and success were taken away, would we still practice? If the answer is yes, then we have begun to understand what Dōgen is pointing toward. Thank you for listening. Until next time.